So Rose is a community organiser and touring musician, working with communities across the UK and Europe to share stories of social change and song. She's part of Transition Heathrow, helping to protect the Heathrow villages from demolition due to the third runway and bring life, hope and support to these villages that have been so blighted by the aviation industry and that threat of expansion. I'm going to hand over to Rose, and Rose, just let me know when you want me to change the slides.
Amazing, thank you. Just gonna check that I can see the slides as well. There we go, beautiful. Okay, I'm also here with Sophie. We've actually been traveling over land and sea to the south of Spain, where we are in the mountains, in a yoga shala that we've been helping to plaster. So it's a bit dusty, get the window open. So the first slide that you can see is loads of baby trees. Lots of which we planted in Heathrow. So a lot of people think that Heathrow, of course, is just an airport, whereas actually there's 5 villages in Heathrow. And of course, a lot of these villages have been hugely affected by the airport and the threat of the expansion. And there was more villages that now aren't there. The airport is in their place. Yeah, and so of course, that affects the villages in many different ways. There's very high levels of pollution, of course, air pollution, noise pollution, like higher rates of diseases due to those things. And also some sad stories about development that often happens in this way with big capitalist developments and communities getting pushed out of their own homes, which we've seen more and more over recent years, and different people have experienced, not only in cities, of course, in countrysides too. And so, for example, one of the villages, Sipson, where I lived in a big community occupation that I'll tell you more about in a moment, now BA, British Airways, owns, I think, at least over 70–80% of the properties there, and had kind of bullied people out of their homes and rents them out on a short-term tenant basis. So trying to stop any kind of community from existing there. So maybe we can move on to the next slide and see which one we've got. So this is some beautiful pictures of Grow Heathrow, where I went to live when I was actually about 18, and it was kind of my university. We learned so much, creating this community space on occupied land in the village of Sipson in Heathrow, growing our own food, and basically we cleared out about 30 tons of rubbish. And reopen the land up as a community space that anyone could come to anytime, anyone was welcome, a lot of local support. John McDonnell's our local MP, and also, of course, as well as working with all the local villages, there was many activists that kind of came from far and wide to support the local people of Heathrow, basically. And some of these photos, you can see some of the kind of things we got up to. So building solar panels, we built a wind turbine, growing food, foraging, doing lots of community arts, and of course, lots of community well-being and conflict resolution, these kind of things that you have to learn also in communities. So sadly, that bit of land, which was there, the community for over 10 years, around 10 years, the last bit of that land was evicted at the end of the pandemic. But luckily, we had already started up a community arts organization so that we could work more easily with local schools, especially a permaculture organization. And we have kept that going so that we can continue working, especially with the schools in Heathrow and the Heathrow villages, and also some of those trees that you saw that we planted that are still growing. One site, especially in another Heathrow village called Harmonsworth. This year we've been building a garden in one circle of trees that we planted next to the Harmonsworth Primary School, also next to a detention centre, also of course very near the airport and the motorway. So it's quite an unusual mix of things in Heathrow, people battling with a lot. Maybe we can go on the next slide and see what we've got. So there are some of the arts projects we've been doing, and the garden, the circle of trees that we were doing this year, and a mural in Harlington, which is another one of the Heathrow villages, with local people, and a community parade that we did with children from the villages making flags around the theme of home. So Heathrow is a home, not just an airport. And in the picture of the garden, we've got Anchor, who can't be there today, but here with us today. But we've been working on connecting with the communities in Heathrow and in Harmondsworth, especially. There's a very strong South Asian community, and just making sure that the children in the schools also feel like there are people that they can relate to, you know, on many different levels. So working with the local children and adults through arts and growing, and all the, you know, the many good things that we do as Transition. Just checking my timing. So I'm going to introduce Sophie as well, because we're here together. So maybe you want to say hi.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, nice. Thanks, Rose. So I'm Sophie. I am part of PAM, so Permaculture Action Mentors, something that we've set up that is basically an umbrella for helping young people. So I have a background in outdoor education and the arts as well, and definitely found one of the most incredible parts of bringing kids into nature through residential camps, through outdoor activity, and just basically engaging with nature was the connection and community that they felt together. And especially kids coming out of the cities and knowing that this is accessible to them. Accessibility is the most important thing. You know, art is seen as something that is reserved for people with money or people in certain demographics, and this is not the case. Art is everywhere, art is heart, and everyone should have accessibility to that. So yeah, Permaculture Action Mentors, you know, we're creating all sorts. We're creating land working festivals as well. So we've got One Land that is, we've held sort of retreats, as well as getting people into land working spaces with a focus on workshops and music, and just knowing that it's possible, knowing that this is out there, because people need hope and people need to be able to know that it's possible for them to go and engage in these projects. So yeah.
Amazing, exactly. And so one thing Sophie mentioned was the One Land that we've been creating, which is basically bringing people together on the land to help people connect with the land, in whatever form that might be. And that's one of the events that we've been doing this year at Heathrow, in Heathrow, and last year, and now we're in 2024, not 2034 yet. But hopefully those trees will still be there. And yeah, bringing both local people in Heathrow and people supporting activists, environmental activists, but maybe more now we've come into this stage of understanding how important intersectionality is, of course, in transition, in the wider environmental movement, bringing these different communities, wider communities together of environmental activists, but also of artists. So we bring together lots of musicians and artists also to support and link with the environmental work that's going on. So obviously we need all of us, we need all these communities to be working together at this stage. Probably coming to our time. Let's see what slides we've got left on there out of interest. We can whiz through the last one. So there's a few more of another mural that we've done in Heathrow, and one of our big celebrations, Heathrow. I think it was the Grow Heathrow 10th birthday, that one. And we played lots of music and did our classic cake competition. Maybe we can whiz on to the next slide. So that was a bike-powered bus that we cycled from South London to Heathrow, collecting people's visions. We had done a project over a year, collecting people's visions about what they might want to spend £17 billion on if they could, because that was how much the third runway was costed at. And then we cycled all the visions to Heathrow on this bike-powered bus. Let's go on the next slide and see what we've got.
I think that's
it. Okay, perfect. That's great. I'm glad that we've got through them. I wonder how much time have we got left? A few minutes.
You have 1 minute left, but if you want to
1 minute. Okay. Perfect, that's perfect. So yeah, I guess just, I know we said I think maybe you shared the Music for Unity page, and Yeah, also there's, I don't, if people don't use Instagram, there is a Music for Unity website. It's Music for Unity with a 4. And that brings together lots of artists, musicians, and also land working, stuff we're doing in Heathrow. Yeah, and I know I said at the beginning when you guys asked not to share my personal music, but maybe that's a nice thing because I do share lots of stories and songs about Heathrow and these projects. So if you do want to find more about that, you can. I'm kindly Sophie's letting me on her Zoom because mine stopped working. But that's under Rose Music UK is the website. But maybe you can share that as a link as well. But yeah, thank you all for hosting because it's so important that we have these conversations, and for sure we're getting there, but for sure we've got a long way to go as well, and we'll see, of course, the big stuff that's going on in the world and where that takes us and how that encourages us to look at some of these deeper issues and how we really can come out of our kind of classic boxes of communities and go through these and challenge ourselves to share and connect with each other in new ways, which we will for sure be challenged with in the future. And hopefully, I'm sure we'll meet those challenges. So yeah, I think that's it from us. Thank you again.
Great, thank you so much, Rose. And what a great example of that, stopping the bad while simultaneously building the new.